We've both been in education, and that means a lot of meetings, so many.
And how many of those do you think were 100% effective, Trudy?
Some were. Hi, I'm Trudy Bender, MTSS Content Manager at Branching Minds.
And I'm Emily Roseberry, Vice President of Product at Branching Minds, and welcome back to your weekly MTSS coffee break. Everyone, I hope that you brewed yourself an extra strong cup of coffee today because we are talking about meetings. That's right. Your time is valuable. Your team's time is valuable. So let's talk about designing meetings that are solutions focused and get things done.
Really important part of designing meetings that actually get things done is to have a set agenda and problem-solving protocol that is put together before the meeting. And this really depends on what kind of meeting you're attending, because it's going to look a little bit different depending on whether you're doing a school-wide, oversight kind of meeting where you're talking about how things are functioning across the entire campus, or those grade level or department meetings when you may be talking about specific students or groups of students, and then that individual student problem-solving meeting. Each one needs its own kind of agenda and protocol, and each person needs to know what their own role is within that meeting.
Of course, any of those student-specific meetings, we would really want you to be documenting in a platform like Branching Minds. If you have access to Branching Minds, we actually have a meetings feature that kind of creates that template for you to have those really structured problem-solving meetings right within the platform. And one of the greatest things about it is that you can then see that running record of all the meetings that have happened about a student, including who was present, whether the parents were there, whether they were informed, and links to any other documentation that you might be having in Google Docs or somewhere else, right there on the students page to access for future years, which is really helpful.
So another really important practice in designing meetings that actually get stuff done is to make sure that you've collected and reviewed your data before the meeting actually takes place. The last thing we want to do is slow down that collaborative work that's needed to help students succeed, and we want to avoid the practice of admiring the problem. Have you ever been in a meeting where you spent 90% of the time just commiserating about the problem and then almost no time was left over to find solutions? We want to make sure that we have the information that we need to stay solution focused within our meetings.
Yes, that's right. Efficiency is the name of the game, and this is a spot where technology can really help us out. So the Branching Minds Insight Survey is available in all of those topics, from the academic topics to SEL and behavioral health. Not quite the same as a normed assessment, but rather just a quick and easy way to collect electronically observations from a student support team members, all their teachers and all the different subject areas, anyone who's working with them and can contribute those insights in advance. This also allows them to maybe be freed up to not attend the meeting if that's not a role that they need to have, but we need to understand what they're seeing in their classroom. Quick survey that just asks, are you seeing these things with this student in the classroom? And then what we can look at in the meeting is the results. So we can quickly visualize what are the strengths for this student that we're seeing across the board and what are the challenges.
The reason we have meetings is to decide what work needs to be done and who's going to be doing that work. And so it's really important to make sure that any decisions that are made and any tasks that need to be done are assigned to a specific person with clear goals and clear deadlines. So any general tasks not related to a specific student should be captured in those agenda minutes that we talked about at the beginning. And you're going to follow the same practice that you would with a student-specific plan, and that is we need to know who, we need to know what, we need to know how, and we need to know when.
I would love to end a meeting without a plan to make a plan. Let's just make the plan. Love actually being able to do that work collaboratively all together right there in the meeting. So here in the example I gave earlier about the insight survey, we know exactly what we want to work on with this student. We've gathered that collaborative information in advance, and we can just go ahead and start making that plan right now. And a thing that's really great about the Branching Minds platform is that it is automatically going to filter our robust interventions and supports library to those supports that are going to work best for that student based on their English proficiency level, based on the tier level of support they've been designated for, as well as their grade performance level. But if you are also using the insight survey to prep for that meeting, we have the ability to filter that insight survey to exactly the supports that are going to help with that challenge area that we identified.
Thing we'd like to share about best practices in designing meetings that actually get things done is to avoid emergency mode. The thing is that the urgent will always outweigh what's truly important. And if you don't set aside time for those proactive and preventive discussions, mostly focused around tier one supports, those universal supports that you're offering for your students, it's going to be hard for you ever to get out of emergency mode. You're always going to be putting out fires, but never addressing the source of those fires. So one thing that really helped in my practice as a district administrator was to make sure that we had really intentional time set aside in meetings, even meetings where we were going to be discussing emergencies, but that we took the time to actually discuss how can we get ahead of these problems. And one thing that we actually did in some meetings is that we would set that time aside, even if it was just 10 minutes, and then we would ring a bell to go to the next part of the meeting, just so that we knew we were really intentional about being proactive and addressing the source of some of these problems.
I love giving each of those really important focuses their own dedicated time in the meeting. And the Branching Minds meeting guide and toolkit is a resource we offer that's really going to help you put some of these ideas into action. I am happy to say that you are officially ready to lead your next productive and efficient meeting. I hope that this coffee break brought clarity on how to make the most of those team meetings.
And you don't have to do this alone. With Branching Minds, you've got a full support team behind you to help you actually implement MTSS effectively and impact those student outcomes.
Stay tuned for our next coffee break. We are going to be talking about building trust through communication, accountability, and support.